Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Friday live question and answer class. Feel free to type your questions at any time in the chat, and I'll answer them for you live. We'll start at the beginning talking a little bit about connected speech, what I call my Real Talk series, where we look at how written words differ from spoken speech in terms of connections, linking, and reductions. So the phrase I've chosen for today is the question, why are we here? And part of this is looking at one of our main reductions, which is that the word are is often reduced to just an sound because it's usually unstressed and unimportant. So I can say, why are we here? But you can hear how that doesn't flow. It's not really natural sounding. More often than not, a native speaker will say, why are we here? Why are we here? So their why combines together with their R. Their R is reduced to and it actually sounds like wire. So just the same as the word wire, it has the ire diphthong. Why are we here? Then there's not much of a change between between we and here. But the pattern is that why are we is fast. So why are we, that links a little bit as well. And then here is where we have our length. That's the stress in that phrase. So why are we here? I can rewrite here. This ERE can be confusing in terms of spelling. Most people are familiar with the word here. It's the same as this word here, here or here. And what you'll hear in terms of the rhythm, why are we here, that we naturally will be quick, 3 syllables here. Why are we here? And then here is really 1 syllable word, but it'll be about as long as all 3 of these other words. In terms of the pitch pattern, you're probably going to hear, why are we here? A rise and a fall on that last word. So sometimes when people think about questions, they've learned and heard that a question has a rising intonation like this. And we use that to make something into a question. So if I'm just saying, we're here, sorry about that. If I'm saying, we're here as a statement, we're here, I'm going to use a little bit of a dropping off to show that my statement is finished. We're here. I might rise and fall on here. If I need to want to turn that into a question, it would become, we're here. I would be rising on we're here, especially on here. But when we have a question word like who, what, when, where, or why, we often don't have a rise because the word order tells us it's a question. So this why are we here just follows the same pattern as the statement, which will have a falling off pattern instead of a rising. So a lot of details just for this short phrase, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the connections, the real talk words versus the spoken words. That's what I call real talk. And the intonation patterns for you. Because often we're focused in this channel and in our classes on pronunciation of sounds, but of course, the rhythm of words and the intonation, the rising and falling of pitch, and how we connect words is an important part of the American accent, and also just fluent speech, even if your goal isn't to have an American accent, but rather to speak fluently, easily, and be well understood. Some of these details can be very useful for you. So you can check out our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com. It shows you some of these changes, how we link and reduce, and it teaches you how to use American TV and movies to change your speech. So it's a great resource for getting that American accent, some of the more advanced features. Again, it's on our courses page on speechmodification.com. Our Real Talk course is available for under $2. So all of our courses are either free or under $2. You can learn about intonation as well in our online courses. For that, I would check out our American Accent 6-week course. It walks you through both pronunciation and intonation in a lot of detail, starting kind of from basic into more advanced lessons. Okay, welcome. Hi, nice to see everyone. Please feel free to ask your questions at any time. I'll answer them for you. We can talk about words, pronunciation, sounds, patterns, whatever would be most useful for you. Okay, we have a question about the NG sound, whether it links up, like in bring up and spring gang. So in your phrase, bring up, I need to bring up a new topic. We do link, but basically we just, nothing changes in this linking. So bring up is similar to if I were saying, for example, bringing, bring up, bringing. I have to use that NG sound. I don't want any G to sneak in there. So what I hear sometimes is people who have a challenge with that NG sound might say bring up or bringing. I don't want any G in there. I just want bringing, bring up. So I go right from my NG gliding into the next vowel. Bring it up. Yeah, so it is linked, but there's no change to the vowel, and you actually have to watch out for not allowing the G sound to sneak in there. Okay, yes, I am speaking quickly. My apologies. I will try to slow down a little bit. My natural speech rate is fairly fast, but sometimes when I'm teaching, I do try to go a little bit more slowly to be well understood. Okay, and yes, we are looking at trying to sound more natural. Being able to connect and link words is an important part of that. Okay, we have a question about the difference between can and can't. So this comes up frequently in class. It's a very important distinction to be able to make because, of course, the meaning will change depending on whether you understood the saying can and can't. And they're kind of tricky. They don't really, the spelling of these words doesn't help. So I do have a video about can and can't, and after class, I'll put that in the links form and the description so you can get into more detail. It depends on how we're using the word. So most of the time when we use the word can, we're using it with another verb. I can go, I can do that, I can talk to her. In which case, it's going to be short and unstressed, and the vowel a is going to actually get reduced. It sounds more like can, or even just can with no vowel. I can go, I can do that. So that's the most of the time when you're saying the word can, you're not saying a can, you're just saying can, I can go. If I'm saying yes, I can, then it's going to be long and have that a vowel. That is the correct way to say it. But if I say I can go, it actually sounds like I'm stressing on can. And I would only say that if I'm saying I can go, in which case it sounds like you said you can't go. And I said, no, I can go. So you want to avoid using can unless it's in the stressed position and it's the only verb. Then if I'm saying I can't go, I'm either stressing on can't or stressing on go, but here it doesn't get reduced. So if you hear the a vowel, I can't go, then you know it's actually can't. What you might have noticed is I didn't say I can't go. That T ends up being stopped. So it sounds like I can't go, I can't go. I lift my tongue up for the T. I just keep my N sound short. So if you hear an a sound with a short N, I can't go. I'm not really saying can't. It's okay if you do say can't go, but it sounds a little bit accented. So when you're listening, you probably have trouble, or you may have trouble understanding or differentiating can and can't. So the best thing to listen for is I can go, really short, almost no vowel, means it's can. I can't go, a little bit longer with the a vowel. But a stopped T, that's going to be your can't. If I say yes, I can, no, I can't, they're going to sound similar, but can might be a little longer and can't will sound a little shorter. No, I can't, because I'm keeping that short to make that stopped T. Complicated, right? So no wonder it gave you some trouble. Again, that's pretty much what I say in the my can and can't video. But I still will give you the link for that if you want to see that and have that as a reference point, because it takes a little while to get used to the fact that the T is not the main thing differentiating can and can't. Okay, great. I see we have lots of questions. I'm going to go back and get to all of them, I hope. If you've asked multiple things, I'll probably cover one of yours and then circle back to your question so that we have time for everyone to get something answered. We have a question about the difference between matter and meter. So matter and meter. Matter has the black cat vowel. So I would say trying to pair it with a word like that matters or has matter is going to help you with that. And then for meter, it has the green T vowel. So I see the meter, green meter. Otherwise, the words are pronounced exactly the same. They both have a flap, so it sounds a little bit like a D. So matter sounds the same as matter, like he's madder than she is. Meter, if there were a meter, it would sound the same, but there is no word for that. So your T is going to be a flap in both of these words. Again, just matching the vowel, that and matter, C and meter, is a good way to differentiate, because when I try to do matter and meter, it might be hard since the vowel is the only thing that's different between those two words. Thank you. That was a good request. Okay, let's see what else we have. Question about regular and irregular. So I do have a video for, I believe, regular, maybe not for irregular, but let's talk about them. So what I hear sometimes with these words is that there's a hidden sound that we don't really spell here. It's not regular, but regular, but regular. So the IPA would be first syllable stress, reg, the glide, ya, reg, ya. Because this letter U is unstressed, it's going to be a schwa here. And then the AR says an ER sound. So it would sound like reg, ya, ler, with length on reg, regular. And then irregular, same stress pattern with reg being stressed. Irregular, you're going to have more of an I sound for that first unstressed syllable. And then just the same as regular, irregular. The only difference would be if I'm saying it's an irregular event, if I'm contrasting the two, I might put a little bit of stress here on regular and irregular. That's just if I'm trying to make sure that it's clear that I'm saying irregular rather than regular. But if I'm just using irregular by itself, it won't have any stress in that first syllable. Usually it's this ya part that gives people trouble. And also they may want to do more like regular, but we tend to use a schwa there because that syllable's unstressed. Good words. Thank you for that request. Okay. We have a question about the verb earn and the noun earn. So these two are the same. So here's a good example of where spelling lets us down. They both have the tense and then an N sound. So they both sound like the same like this spelling is in turn. This spelling is in learn. It's a little misleading because it looks like ear, the ear diphthong, but they're both just a regular So I would maybe write them like that, earn, or we spell the vowel many different ways. IR, AR, OR, UR. Basically all the vowels plus R can still be an sound, but it's just your base American R. So earn the verb, earn the noun, same pronunciation. Good request. Thank you. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a dry throat. Okay, let's see what else we have. So I'll follow up on the spring So spring and gang. If I had to say spring gang, it does link, but it doesn't, I don't put a G on spring. So it's just spring gang. Unlike springing, like gang, I do have to put the G on gang. So whether or not that links, spring gang, depends on the context of the sentence, but you don't change either of the end consonant of spring or the beginning consonant of gang. Great. Okay. So practicing, we have a question about finding places to practice. So there's many groups out there that where people meet to practice. On my website, in my free practice area, I do have an area talking about online resources. And I haven't updated it recently, but there are some websites for people looking for conversational practice. There's also many groups on Facebook and WhatsApp. I don't have one myself. I do have a Facebook group where you can post if you'd like to find people who'd also like to practice speaking. So you can check that out on Speech Modification on Facebook. Okay. Question about the word suddenly. So suddenly, if I said it slowly, suddenly, it has all those sounds. But when we say it in connected speech, he was suddenly there. We kind of drop out this vowel here we don't say suddenly. So it sounds like first syllable stress, suddenly. And the N in this word is a syllabic N. So when I say sudden, I just basically move directly from the D to the N. And then for suddenly, I just add the li. So it kind of sounds like suddenly. Not super easy to do that syllabic N. I do have a video for other words that have this flap and then the syllabic N, like button. Actually, that's a stop, T and an N. Never mind. So suddenly, just practice trying to do the dun without releasing your D. Just go release right into the N. Sudden. It's almost like the D isn't really there so much. That's a tough one. Thank you. Question about auxiliary verb. Feel free to ask me specifically what you'd like me to pronounce for you. Are you asking about how to pronounce auxiliary verb or about auxiliary verbs? I'm not sure. Auxiliary, I'll just do that in case that's what you're asking. So auxiliary. It kind of looks like auxiliary, but I think we actually just say auxiliary. So it sounds like auxiliary. So that would sound like with a G, aug. The X says a G and a Z in this word, auxiliary. Stress on zil, auxiliary. And then verb, just your v, your and your b, verb, auxiliary verb. Yeah, okay, good. Hopefully that's what you were asking. If not, you can put another question in and clarify. Okay, question about 6. And 6, I don't know that this is really a word, sick. If it were a plural, because sick is a adjective, and so it's not a noun that can be plural. He's sick, but that is how we pronounce 6. So it's useful to see it that way. So the X in auxiliary was a GZ. It is in some other words as well. In 6, it's a KS or a X. So we have 6. And then that is just like if I was saying sick plus an S, 6. Yeah, that's a good way of rewriting it if it helps you to know how to do each of those. X can do a lot of different things. So I do have some lessons about specifically the letter X and the different sounds it can make in different words. There are some patterns depending on whether it's stressed or not and where it falls in the word, but there aren't set rules. So you do have to look word by word that have X to see what the X says. Okay, we have a question about school and skull. So they're more similar than you might think. Same beginning words. So CH just says a K sound. So it would be more like school versus skull. So the main difference is in school, we have the oo rounded, tense oo vowel. And in skull, o, we have vowel schwa. So what I would try is saying like maybe new school and a skull or dull skull. So the difference is that oo is rounded. It's a high back vowel, oo, and my tongue is just in the middle, very relaxed, in the schwa vowel, so you could also use a word like such, or such, not suck. Such skull, for example, getting that sound to be consistent. Okay. Usually using a contrasting word can be helpful because if you have trouble with the difference between those words, none of the other sounds are different, but the difference between new and or new and such, you're probably not going to have too much trouble with. So that you can use that to help you with those vowel sounds in the words that are closer. Okay, let's see. Okay, question about the word groceries. So there's two different ways. Well, there's more than two, but some people say groceries with the SH sound, and some say groceries with the S sound. I use SH, but that's just because that's how it was done in Wisconsin, where I grew up, and I think it's mostly how it's done here in Washington State as well. So I do have a video about groceries, but the other difference is that I can say groceries or just groceries. So most people, even though you can say groceries or groceries, both are correct. Many people will reduce that to just groceries or groceries. What's a little bit strange is that we don't really have S and R together, srees. So this is, I would say, maybe more typical of British English. And if it's hard for you to do shrees or srees, you can do groceries or groceries. This is the one that I use, groceries. I'm going to get groceries. And shrees is just kind of like that little sound drops. That's just a reduction to make it more simple and smooth rather than groceries. We just go right from the sh to the R with basically dropping that schwa in there. Okay. Groceries, that's a good word. Definitely something that you'll hear a lot of different versions of it when you're listening to native speakers. Okay. Question about use of whom. So whom is kind of dropping out of everyday use. It's not used very much in spoken English anymore. We often will just use who. How we use it is if I'm saying, for example, we use it in writing for to whom it may concern. That's one place that it stays. For whom. So it's when it's an object. So for whom, to whom. to whom am I speaking? That would be kind of a very formal way of asking, for example, over the phone. To whom am I speaking? So it's when it's the object of the verb, because we might somehow seem rude to say who am I speaking to. We can say who may I say is calling. So who is used as subject and whom is used as object. But we don't really use whom that as much in spoken speech. So we tend to use who. Yeah. So that we just change the word order of the sentence to be able to use the who as a subject rather than as an object. But usually you're going to see a to or a for with whom because it's the object. So you after class, I can put a link for a grammar page that talks about who versus whom, more details about the rules. But just know that in everyday language, whom is not really used that much in spoken speech, more for formal speech and writing, and it's kind of dropping out of those as well over time. Okay, great. So a question about alternative ways to pronounce probably. So that's probably because it's not an easy word to pronounce. I recommend trying to say it correctly, probably, because anything else may sound uneducated or informal. This is not one that really there's any accepted version of it. I have to think it through. But generally in professional speech and to sound like a native speaker, you want to stick with probably. So then you have your probably. First syllable stress, probably. What I can think of is that people might say more like probably, and then they just drop the B's out, but that doesn't sound... I wouldn't recommend it, basically. I would stick with probably. I'll give that some consideration if I can think of any other reductions that happen there that are common or okay for professional speech, but right now nothing's coming to mind. Okay, we had a question about the word this. So for this, to practice that, I would just really work on your voiced TH sound. If that's what gives you trouble, you can try first doing the voiceless TH, like think, and then work on voice TH, like the, that, there. You just need your tongue between your teeth, your voice on, and the air flowing. For this, yeah, there's not much you can do besides really working on getting that TH to be smooth. And then I would say also maybe practicing this in some phrases. So doing things like, is this, did this, this is, this was, just to move back and forth and get a lot of repetition on that everyday word. It's generally not, it's often not going to be stressed. It comes up a lot, so I can see why it's difficult. It's a combination of sounds that might not be easy. The other thing I recommend when it comes to this is also practicing these and making sure that you don't make those the same. So they're not equal. This, you want, like I was saying, trying using it with did and is to make sure that you have the I vowel in it. For these, practicing that has the Z sound and the E vowel. So practicing like see, these green, making that vowel there. And also this is versus these are, making sure that you have the plural and singular distinction there, because these two end up sounding similar to each other if you have accent patterns with S and Z and with E and I. So it's a good place to practice to really build up, to make it very clear which one you're using. people end up with something that's a little in between, like kind of like this, which isn't either word. So making very distinct difference between this and these is important for grammar and for being understood. And it's a good way to work on some of the basic patterns that affect a lot of people's speech when they're non-native speakers. Okay, great. We have a question about the word physicist. So for physicist, it's different than physics. We have the PH saying the F sound, first syllable stress. Y says the I vowel, like it. The letter S says the Z sound. Then we have another I unstressed. The C says the S sound, another I, and then our S and T. So it sounds like fizz. And this I could be a schwa fizza or fizz. I'm going to write it here as a schwa fizza because it's going to be really fast. Probably we do physicist with I in those other syllables. So you can think about it as an I as well. Physicist. Tough combination because you're going back and forth with those S's and Z's, and you have the lots of I vowels as well. But a good word. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about the uses of lookup. So it can literally mean look up, like look up above you. It also means to look up to, you can look something up in a dictionary or look something up online. So that means to search for information. We also have like things are looking up, means things might improve. So there's the literal meaning with your eyes looking up. There's searching a reference, and then there's improving. We usually use that with things are looking up, though, rather than just the phrase look up. There might be some others. You can look up a word or a phrase like look up either in a phrasal dictionary or just in a regular dictionary, and it's going to show you with look. You can look at, it'll show you like look up, look out for, look into, different phrases and their different meanings. I'm sure you're aware of that, but it's good to kind of learn the different meanings like you're saying. And then to practice them in context. So, because just by itself, there's no way to know what look up means unless you know the rest of the sentence and what else is trying to be said there. So, okay, great. Thanks for such good questions today. It was so nice to see all of you here, and I really liked the topics, really interesting questions and good information. So I know that's going to help. I hope it's going to help you, and I know it's going to help others. So thank you for your questions. I'll be back again next Friday at the same time. We'll have our live question and answer, and you can attend, ask your questions. If something comes up in the meantime, you can leave a comment on any of my videos, and I'll direct you to resources for an answer, or I'll add your word to my list to cover in a future Word of the Day class. We also have an additional class on Sundays for our channel members. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can click the join button and see the perks that we offer to the channel members. So it's just a way to support the channel and get a little bit of extra help, a faster turnaround time on your questions, and a second live class each week. Thanks so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you again next Friday. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. Speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thank you for a great class.